On today's episode of The Intangibles, we'll be kicking things off as always with the play of the game. At 9 minutes and 7 seconds, we'll get you caught up on the League of Legends World's final meta. And finally, at 26 minutes and 59 seconds, we'll break down all manner of trivia games. Alright. It's my time down here.
That's right. You Goonies!
That's a great note to begin the episode on. Welcome, everyone, to The Intangibles, hosted by me, Kenny, and
me, Matt.
That's right. We're ready for an excellent episode today. I definitely remembered we were recording tonight.
Yes, as evidenced by me messaging you on Discord and Snapchatting you. I was happy to get a response of, I'll be there in 5, I'm on my way.
To be fair, I was at our parents' house, and I was sitting there, I was like, I need to be heading back to the house, but I couldn't think of why. I was like, I need to head back home. And I just thought it was me being a homebody, but no, it was because I actually did have something that I needed to do. I am prepared, however.
Were you
very well prepared.
Were you at Mom and Dad's when I texted you?
Let's move on to our play of the game.
He literally meant on my way, yes. I'm leaving now.
I'm getting in my car.
Poke chat, poke chat.
All right, play of the game. Just to show you that I am prepared, I'm going to give us the first nomination for play of the game.
Bring it on.
And it's something I've already shared with you, but I didn't say that this was going to be my play of the game this week. I have been getting recommendations from YouTube for a while now of a person who is doing a demake, not a remake, a demake of Bloodborne. So if you don't know what demakes are, it's when people take newer video games and they rework them, redesign them as if they were from an older generation of games. So this person is taking Bloodborne, which came out for the PS4, and is making it as if it were coming out for the PS1. And just this past week, they dropped a release trailer for the game. And this is by Lilith Walther, if you want to check that out. And I think it looks absolutely incredible. It looks amazing, which is weird to say because obviously it looks like PS1, so it looks like shit. But I don't know. You tell me your thoughts about it first. What you thought of the trailer?
I mean, I thought it looked great. So I'm very interested to see, is it just like PS1 graphics but with a better like computer, if that makes sense, or is this genuinely like capable of running on PS1? Because it does, like, it has the roughness to it, but I've never seen anything like that, if that makes sense.
I believe they're making this to run on like a PS1 emulator.
Oh, that's crazy. It looked really good. Yeah, I mean, if you like Bloodborne, it's like it would be such a satisfying, cool game to play in place of it, even now, you know, like even though the graphic style is totally different, it's retro basically. It's super cool. Like the visuals looked great in spite of being, you know, 8-bit, not 8-bit, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think this person has put in a ton of work, obviously, but the reason I want to nominate them for the intangible play of the game is because I think, in addition to this just being awesome, it shows in yet another way how great of a game Bloodborne is, where if that game could totally have existed in the PlayStation era, and it would have blown my mind just as much as the one that came on the PlayStation 4. The honest truth is, of all the things I love about Bloodborne, the graphics are not, like, up there. Like, Bloodborne is not the best looking game. Even when it came out, it was not the best looking game.
It's funny.
It looks good. Don't get me wrong about that.
I'm sure at the time it looked, you know, great in all sorts of ways, but yeah, you don't play it for this stunning, just like pure visuals, I guess. You know, there are cool visuals in it, but it's still constrained by what that game is capable of.
And I think that's also part of the intangibles for demaking it to PlayStation 1, is like the choices that this designer has to make to try to make monsters still scary somehow, even though they're polygons. And watch the trailer. I think they do an amazing job.
Yeah, definitely. The trailer was super cool. I legitimately thought it was just somebody making a cool video. I didn't think it was like a legitimate game. So I may have to figure out how to get a PlayStation 1 emulator to mess around with that someday.
Yeah. So that's my nominee. What do you got this week?
Very nice. I like that a lot. This week, I am nominating Andrew Fish, who is a professional disc golf player. He is on Team Discraft. And I've been a little obsessive towards disc golf recently, but this isn't specific to playing the game in any way. There's another pro named Austin Hannum, who is he's an idiot, I guess, and he's kind of notoriously an idiot. He likes to post hot takes on Twitter about all sorts of stuff, and he posted a tweet relatively recently that said, and I'm just going to say it specifically so you can all hear it. Disc golf hot take. All right, disc golf Twitter. What is everyone's opinion on biological males playing in the FPO division at PDGA? So clearly a tweet to stir up, angst towards the transgendered community. There's specifically a woman on tour. Her name is Natalie. One moment, please.
It's a weird name.
Natalie Ryan. And I'm just getting into this. I'm not super familiar with lots of these people's names, but it's kind of directed straight at her because she is a transgender male to female and plays on the tour. And Andrew Fish posted a big, long reply on Twitter. And again, he reps Team Discraft. He's a member of this disc golf community. And he made this big, long, multi-post basically saying a bunch of different things. But being very polite, yet kind of putting him in his place, telling him all sorts of stuff. Have empathy. Not everyone's opinions on topics are as valid as others. Posting this on Twitter to have other people just respond to you in the way that you're hoping for is not a way to do research and really think about a topic. The PDGA uses the International Olympic Committee guidelines that were set forth. Just was really thorough, really, smart about it, and was a good role model for the disc golf community. So I'm giving it to Andrew for outside of the game, standing up and being a good guy and saying what's right, and being a good role model in that community.
Go off, Andrew Fish.
Yeah, it was great. I loved it. When I stumbled upon this again, I'm just kind of getting into disc golf, and stumbled upon that tweet, and people were talking about how stupid it was, and then stumbled upon Andrew's response. It was like, yes, this guy gets it.
That's also a name I didn't know, and I Googled it as soon as you said it, because I first got into disc golf in college with a handful of my college buddies, one of whose name was Andrew, and another of whose name was Fish. So that was just a very weird coincidence.
When to become one.
I know, did they say Dragon Ball Z fusion or something? Combine their skills. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and no listener vote on this one. I'm just going to give it to Andrew Fish. I think that is immensely worthy of the play of the game for this week.
Yeah.
For his play outside of the disc golf course.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think it speaks a little bit to how athletes are role models, right? They have a platform where they can be a voice for better or for worse, and he was the kind of guy who did it for better, so I appreciate that.
In response to somebody doing it for worse?
Yeah.
Nice. All right.
Nice dude.
Very nice dude. Well, let's move on to a topic where I will talk a lot, and then if you have any questions, we're going to do the meta.
2 to the 1, from the 1 to the 3. What's up? This is Jeff from the Overwatch team, making changes that you wouldn't believe are going to take you out with a long-range beam.
And in particular, we are talking about the upcoming League of Legends Worlds Finals that will be taking place this weekend.
This Saturday.
Right?
That's right. After a month-long tournament, we have whittled it down to 2 teams. And I will say, for those of you who want to watch and have not yet, or you're still catching up, spoilers galore ahead. But I just want to say you're going to really love watching both semifinals because they were absolute bangers. So, as a reminder, the way the League of Legends Worlds Championship, like I said, it's a month-long tournament. There's a little play-in stage where some of the teams on the fringe battle it out, round robins, tiebreakers, and some of them make it through. Then there's a group stage, 4 different groups that play each other, round robin style. The best 2 teams from each group move forward into the quarterfinals. Once you're in quarterfinals, you're in the knockout stage. You're playing best of 5 matches to go on to the next. Then semifinals, finals. It's all best of 5, which is pretty serious business because matches can be anywhere from 25 minutes to an hour long. So it's a real test to see who's going to be the champion. And both semifinals went the full 5 games, which was a delight. It was really great to see. We had Dom1 Gaming versus T1. T1 is Faker's team. Faker, the Michael Jordan of League of Legends, the greatest player of all time. He has won, I want to say, 3 world championships. Absolutely crazy.
So it sounds to me like Dam1 is like the team to beat, right? Like this is in my brief reading about the finals. They are. I don't know who else is on the team, but it sounds like they have some prominent other people in addition to Faker, and they are absolutely the favorites in this final.
So Dom1 is the favorite, but Faker is on T1.
Oh, excuse me.
So Faker, he has not had a championship in, I want to say, 3 years now, and it's kind of a big deal. It's like a passing of the torch when his team lost to a Chinese team, and that was kind of Korea was super dominant in the game for a long, long time. Ultimate supremacy. China was kind of up and coming, and then they won. And since then, it's like, has it completely changed hand? Is China going to be the dominant team? And it was also very interesting because Korea played a very controlling, methodical, careful game, and China is like hyper aggression, crazy plays, balls to the wall action, which is really fun to watch. And it seems like there's been a change in the game, and now that's kind of the favored strategy. Not that there isn't some more controlling, methodical stuff as well, but that's sort of broad strokes. And so these two came together. Dom1 won last year, so they're the defending champs. And they also... Dom1 is Korean as well. So hang on to that note about Korea and China. Dom1 beat T1 in the Korean regionals, and they had a huge, epic 5-game series this time. Dom1 edges out in the end. They move on. On the other side of things, the other semifinals, we have EDG. That's the Chinese team versus another Korean team, Jinji. That also goes the full 5 games, is really wild, like really swingy, even in individual games, back and forth, until the final game when EDG puts the foot down and crushes them in game 5. Just like total control the entire way through. Which I'm very excited for because I was really wanting to see... I mean, in one way it would have been cool to see Korean teams going at it, but I like seeing different regions stack up against each other.
In any sport, right? It's nice to see that it's not all dominated in one area, and they are the group who's always going to be at the top, and it's just a play amongst themselves, you know?
Exactly. And my only hope is, because I don't have any special... I guess I'm rooting for EDG as the underdogs in the tournament. Underdogs. I'm going to put that in big quotes because they're obviously a phenomenal team. They're an underdog in the finals. But this is kind of what I root for in pretty much any Super Bowl I watch. I just want an awesome game. I am kind of afraid that, much like a lot of big tournaments and playoffs, we've already seen the best games. That, like 2 great series. What are the odds that we get a finals that is also going to be a huge 5-game series? I really hope that's the case. But my bet is on Dom1, but I want EDG to put up a great fight, do some really crazy stuff. I want to see wild picks come out. I think that would be awesome.
They're kind of like the Chengdu Hunters of the of the situation. They're going to throw some crazy shit at you and see what happens.
That's a good way to put it. It's been a good world. It's been very enjoyable. I'm glad that North America made it into the quarterfinals. I'm glad that Europe made it into the quarterfinals with Mad Lions. Both Western teams got absolutely trounced in the quarterfinals, like not even remotely close, so that's kind of sad, but at least we made it out of groups. We can say we made it out of groups.
There's some progress there. So you said that the Korean teams have been dominant historically.
Especially in the first 3-4 seasons, yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Dom1 is a fairly new team when it comes down to it, right? They've only been around since 2017 is what I found on the internet.
That's right. But they do have a stacked roster. They've got really great. And one really interesting thing about their matchup against T1, you have Faker, like I said, the GOAT, the greatest of all time. But he went up against a younger mid laner named Showmaker, and Showmaker put on a show. He really did it. And
he made a show.
He did. He showed up to play. And he first blooded Faker multiple times in the series, which is wild because Faker, one of his, I think I've mentioned this to you before, I don't think I mentioned it on the show, one of his few nicknames is the Unkillable Demon King.
No, so when I was reading, I was trying to do my basic research for this evening, I came across that phrase many times, and I'm proud to say it only took me one or two to recall that it was Faker who they were talking about.
Which, I mean, as far as the nickname goes,
it's decent, yeah.
That's tough to beat. That's a tough one to beat.
That's what they call me on the golf course, the Unkillable Demon King. So also in my research for this evening, so EDG, Edward Gaming is what it stands for. I've found that team's actually been around for a really long time. They and I think they're involved in other esports as well, but they're based in Shanghai. They were formed in 2013, so they got a little age on Dom 1. And they've had a lot of success over the years in general, in not necessarily the worlds, but in all sorts of the other.
They've won MSI before.
Yeah, they've won other. I don't know if these are seasons or they've won the League of Legends Pro League 6 times and the Demacia Cup 5 times.
So the LPL is the Chinese region.
There you go. So they're within their own region. They're one of the best, and I don't know what the Demacia Cup is, but there you go. So I found that interesting to see that they're...
If I'm remembering right, I think the Demacia Cup is a Korea versus China tournament.
Interesting. And this is over the span of, again, from 2013 to now. So, 8 years that they've had some success. So I guess when you put the two timelines together, it makes a little more sense.
It's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
This is their first time. This was their first time making it to the semifinals of Worlds, and so this will be their first finals at Worlds as well, which is also pretty exciting. I would love to see the upset. I would love to see it.
I was gonna say, let's just hope it's a good match, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Do they?
I'm pretty excited.
Do they up to best out of 7 in the last, or is it still best out of 5?
Still best of 5.
That's still a lot of playing, so
it is for sure. Yeah, I think best of 7. They wouldn't do just because, if all your games go long, you're talking about being on stage for 10 hours in a row.
Yeah,
that would be rough.
That's a whole different kind of challenge.
Yeah, then it's like racing or something. You have to really get comfortable. I did want to talk very briefly as well about the meta of Worlds this year, as in what champions have been picked, what are the strategies. I will say it's been a very entertaining Worlds. I kind of have two contradictory thoughts. It has been very fun to watch. It's been very entertaining. The champions that are in the meta right now are very boring, I think. And I'm going to just try to exemplify it with two particular picks that have been consistent throughout that I personally think should never be in the meta for professionals. So one of them is an ADC, so a ranged marksman shooting with auto attacks named Misfortune. She's a very simple champion. I think she's one of the original champions, so she had a very basic kit. She has an ability where she just shoots a bullet at somebody. It's not a skill shot, it's just point and click. She has an ability which is mostly a passive, which gives her move speed that you don't have to do anything with. She has an ability that puts a big circle of bullets that's impossible to miss, and it just slows people down. And her ultimate is a giant cone of damage that shoots for several seconds. She's very basic. And another pick that goes along with her is Yumi, who is a cat that flies around on a book. She's a cool character as far as the lore and her design and stuff, but the mechanics I find really egregious. So as an Overwatch person, let me describe Yumi to you as a Mercy who is tied to a person, but she is untargetable and undamageable while she's attached to them.
She's just like a symbiote. You can't actually attack her directly.
That's right. Now, if you kill the person she's attached to, she pops off and you can kill her then. But it's just really annoying. She has her only skill shot is a little missile that comes off, and it follows your cursor wherever you send it. So it's not actually you're aiming at somebody. You can just drag your cursor and hit them with it. So I don't mind there being like real basic low skill champions. I do have a problem with these low skill champions being the best picks at the highest level of play. Because ideally what you want to see is the pros doing crazy things that you would never be able to do, right?
Sure.
It's like, what if Bastion was a major pick in Overwatch competitive? Like, wouldn't that suck?
Yes. Would you say that there is a greater... people who are better at the game who use Yumi can use her, like... So, like, if I watch... You do see Bastion pulled out occasionally, and I guess really what you see in that case is, like, someone's aim more than anything. They sit down in a turret form. How good are they at tracking people? Is there that same kind of, like, at least a little bit of skill ramp for Yumi at all?
A little tiny bit. The littlest tiny bit is that good Yumis, what they'll do is they will unattach from the person they're buffing and weave in auto attacks, and then as soon as they come under threat, reattach. So good Yumis are good at finding moments when they can harass by unattaching. That's literally the only skill expression the champ has, though.
Gotcha.
You don't see, like, wow, what a skill shot from the Yumi. That's not a thing that exists.
From the Yumi.
It stands for you and me.
It's you and me. Ba-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Anyway, so that's just my little rant about... I don't think these champs... I think it's good that they're in the game. I think it's good that they're viable for players like me who are untalented. But I don't think they should be the dominant picks. I think this means that the balance of the game was kind of flubbed leading into Worlds.
Sure. Which, would you say that's not typically the case with League of Legends? Like, typically, it's in a pretty good state for these kind of things?
It kind of depends. And partially their hands are tied, because something they do, which I think is the right call, the last patch before World starts, they barely change anything. Which I think is fair, because the players have been playing on this patch for a while. You don't want to sudden, like... The game feels completely different going into the biggest tournament of the year. You want people to know what they're doing.
Sure.
So I understand that. And it has happened before. This is like, I want to say, maybe 3 years ago. The meta was all about an item in particular called Ardent Sensor. It was a support item. And what it does is if you put a shield on somebody, they get a huge boost of attack speed. So they get some extra stats. And so and it was just such a cost-efficient, powerful item that the only supports who were viable were supports who could put shields on people. And so you saw teams just really focusing on support and even mid laners. So, like, who were supposed to be your main carries, like Faker is a mid laner, your flashiest players in the game, were just running, like, supports in the mid lane just so they could have extra Ardent Sensors. And so that kind of sucked. That was not very fun to watch. Yeah, that was not great to watch. So it happens sometimes, you know. When you're constantly changing things about the game, it's going to happen sometimes that things are less exciting. But, I mean, as much as I'm not a huge fan of some of the champs that have made it, like I said, this has not been a boring... It's not like it's not like a meta where it's all about sitting back and waiting till the 40-minute mark before you do anything. There's plenty of action, so That's cool anyway.
I think it's interesting that, I mean, League's been around for so long now. I feel like they do have a better feel on what... And maybe they're just better at doing it for their game, I don't know, but having the game in a good state. Overwatch has been similar to that recently, but I feel like over the course of the 5 years it's been around, it's been all over the place.
Yeah. And it goes up and down. I mean, obviously, Riot Games has figured some things out. They've made this game last for this long, which I think is impressive.
Definitely.
So we'll be looking forward to Worlds Finals. Look forward also, Riot's new animated series Arcane is going to premiere on Netflix also this weekend, which it looks good. I don't want to say anything because it could be a huge pile of crap. I hope it's great. I hope it's amazing.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that was coming out. I'll have to check it out.
There's a great music video, a new Imagine Dragons song.
It's like going all the way back to the first World song, right?
It is, yeah. I don't know why they didn't do this. Because we talked about when we ranked the music videos, the one they did this year was low ranked for both of us. Mm-hmm. They should have made this new song called Enemy. They should have just made it the world song, because it's like
how
it's
smart.
Also just,
I mean, that's advertisement for your new show. Like, you're tying all that together. You're getting people hyped up for it. Oh my gosh, man! They need to hire you right now. I'm writing them.
They should have, especially like the song works totally. The main theme is "Oh the misery, everyone wants to be my enemy," which like totally works as like a world's theme.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's unfortunate that they did not have that that vision,
foresight.
Yeah,
yeah. But it's gonna be a good time. I'll be excited to check that out. Okay, we're gonna take a quick break and then we will break things down.
Be right back.
Hey, Kenny.
Hey, Amber.
I have a question for you.
All right, shoot.
Of all the planeswalkers, which one's butt do you want to touch the most?
I'll just go with my gut. Karn. That ass is sculpted. Literally. Speaking
of butts, you better believe this is Red Mage, Blue Mage. Kenny, I'm really bad at this. That's our awesome Magic the Gathering podcast on the Geekspective Network. Oh my god, I can't stop laughing.
And neither can you when you're listening to us talk about magic and lore and how to build commander decks and Oathbreaker decks and us actually playing against each other, which is my favorite part.
Right, and you can hear us do all these things on Spotify, iTunes, or other major platforms like YouTube now as well.
And you can also send dank memes at us, dank magic memes at RedBlueMTG. We're down for that, sure.
Yeah, the danker the better.
That's what I always say.
All right, bye.
Oh, let's break it down! Why are you so angry?
Time for the show where high culture and pop culture collide. Woo! All right, how you doing? Nice to have you here. You comfortable? Good. We're starting.
All right, and this week we're tackling a broad topic in the breakdown. We are talking about a category of games. Yes, we are talking about trivia games. Matt is holding up his box of Trivial Pursuit cards, which we will get into. We should start there, because I think probably for both of us, trivia games have a beginning in Trivial Pursuit. Would you say that's fair?
Yeah, I would put it in two places. Trivial Pursuit at the web holiday get-togethers at our parents' house or our dad's siblings' houses. And then that was probably first, but then You Don't Know Jack is kind of intermixed with that. There was a CD-ROM version of You Don't Know Jack that I have no idea who gave to our parents, but it was on our Windows 95, I'm pretty sure. It was that old.
Yep.
And we played that thing so many times that Kenny knew every question's answer, I'm pretty sure. He knew exactly what the answer was to every single question in the game.
Yeah. I broke the game. It was not fun to play anymore because I would just see the question begin, and I would buzz in and I would know the answer.
Yeah, it stunk.
Yeah, but that's how much I loved the game.
And Trivial Pursuit, I mean, while watching our parents and their siblings and siblings' significant others, spouses play, we didn't know any of the questions. I would say. I mean, this is an old version of Trivial Pursuit that had the majority of the questions were over the span of time up to, it felt like 1965, and no more recent than that. It probably was more recent than that, but it felt like nothing in our lifetime, and we were young enough that we just I certainly had no idea what the hell they were talking about.
Definitely not. I mean, it was a game that I'm sure was bought in the 80s at some point, and it's like, so the questions from it were from before when we were born. And so I just remember there were so many questions, tons and tons of questions about East and West Germany. And by the time we were born, that was already irrelevant. So, but you're a little kid, everybody's out there. Whenever we play Trivial Pursuit, we play in two big teams. when we were kids, and it would be just a room full of drunken adults yelling about questions. And we have an especially loud family, so it always turned into a shit show. But as a kid, it was great because you could just be hanging out. Sometimes you would know the answer, and you'd tug on somebody's shirt and be like, I know what it is. And it was a great feeling to tell an adult, I know what the answer is, give it to them, and get it right.
Yeah, and it might happen a single time a night at most, honestly. Yeah. But like you're saying, fantastic feel. I still have that feeling when I play on a team today.
That's completely true. So yeah, that's something I want to come back to as well. How like Trivial Pursuit, we talk about this frequently about all kinds of games that we like. You and I like difficult games. We're drawn to difficult games. Trivial Pursuit is one of the hardest games that there is.
Yeah, I would definitely say so, especially the traditional version of the game. There are all sorts of weird versions of the game that exist now in the pursuit of money, and some of those versions are stinky and questions are poopy. But if you play like the classic version, yeah, I would say I don't know what the percentage on correct answers is, but 33% might be a good number to throw at it. Like I don't feel like it's more than that. You typically are not going to get, you're not going to get a pie every time you land on a pie space. You're not going to necessarily get to just keep rolling because you answered a question right. The game might take hours.
I do love, Trivial Pursuit, maybe there's some people out there who have never played. It's an extremely stripped down trivia game. There are not any bells and whistles on it. All you're doing is rolling a dice, which gives you a category. You pull a card and you get read the question of that category, and you try to answer it. If you get it right, you get to go again.
Or you get a pie if you're on a pie space.
Right. There are 6 categories. There's 1 space on the board for each category that corresponds to a pie piece. You want to collect all 6, and then you have to answer one more ultimate question in the middle of the board. That's the entirety of the game.
Of your opponent's choosing, I think, too, right?
Yes, they pick the category, and then you stick with that category for the rest of the game. And I think the makers of the game understand that it's this hard because there are many roll again spaces where you just don't have to answer a question. You just get another shot at landing on a pie piece. So, yeah, it's tough. It's tough stuff.
I like to think of that now. Like, that is a good balance piece, I guess, to throw all those roll again spaces in there. It's like, this would be an absolute drag if you just had to keep going and answering a question every time and get a pie every now and then. So here's some extra opportunities.
Yeah, definitely. Maybe we should talk about this now while we're thinking about Trivial Pursuit in particular, because you and I like it very much. Our sister April likes it, I would say, very much. Our sister Samantha hates it.
Veronica hates it
more than anything.
Yeah, Veronica
hates it. Samantha's husband hates it. Mm-hmm. It's a very polarizing game. And so, I guess it's easy to see why people don't like it. People don't like it because it's really hard. You're trying to answer questions, you don't know the answer. It makes you feel dumb. It makes you feel stupid. So I think a better question is, why do we like it? Because it's not like we're geniuses. It's not like we play the game and it's like, oh, let me show you how much trivia I know.
Why do
we answer as few as, like, you said, our percentage is not very good on questions answered correctly.
Yeah. If I think about it, why do I like it? When you play it for a while, you start to understand that not typically even, but sometimes in questions there are context clues and things you can pick up on. And when you find that on a question that you don't know 100%, but you're able to put it together and get that answer out there, it's rewarding. It feels really good. When you're able to solve that puzzle kind of and pull the right answer out of the depths within and continue moving or get that pie piece, it makes you want to do it again. And I think that's why it is. Like, if it was just questions that you absolutely knew the answer to every time, it would be a whole different thing. It's not like it's 100% and 0% when someone asks you a question. You do have some thinking. I think it's fun to discuss with your team, too. You can kind of bounce ideas off teammates and kind of, free associate with each other until you might eventually land on what the answer to the question is. So I would say both of those things are why I enjoy it.
Definitely. I think it's a great hangout board game, too. Because it's like, it requires you to listen to the question, but you can basically be just vibing for most of it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's not like when you're playing a card game with a bunch of people where it's like you kind of got to be on the ball. It's just, you know, it's low stakes. You're just hanging out.
You potentially have to pay attention like 50% of the actual game, and probably less than that if you're not the person reading questions and like interacting with the board.
It accommodates like different levels of engagement, because whenever we would have the big family get-togethers, there are always some like lurkers in the background who are like not really playing, sometimes not even on anybody's team, who are just like providing answers sometimes.
Maybe grabbing a nibble of food and away for a few questions, but then they're back for a few later. Yeah.
Which is always great for complaining. There's like a lot of room for complaining about circumstances in this game.
You know, that is a fun part of the game too, that I think we probably appreciate more because of seeing the web family interact with it. But when teams would get questions wrong, you know, there might be some banter and some shit giving that goes on amongst the teammates, because it's a bunch of siblings typically who are kind of messing with each other, and so that's a fun part of it as well.
You also have everybody's had this experience who's ever played Trivial Pursuit or kind of any team-based trivia game. You have somebody who provides an answer but isn't confident enough to be like, this is correct. And then, of course, they have the right answer.
And everyone's like, oh, come on! Yeah.
And now you have complaint equity on your team because you had the right answer.
I definitely, I think, especially as a kid around the adults, that is a huge thing, you know? Of course, you're not confident in your answer that you're telling, because it's like, why would I know this and you don't? So you're kind of like, I think it might be that, and then, you know, I think that's definitely a big factor and probably sticks with me to this day because of our experiences being kids.
Yeah, for sure. Then we played You Don't Know Jack. And You Don't Know Jack, while a trivia game, is a very different game, and I like it for different reasons. This is a game that introduces, whereas Trivial Pursuit is a very stripped down, basic trivia game, You Don't Know Jack was all about the style of the game, I would say, much more than the substance of the game.
Sure.
And I have not liked any other You Don't Know Jack games. I've played various versions of them on Jackbox. They're still making them, and I don't think any has been good since that original. I think because the original was so good. And if you never played it, the original one especially was like a game show. It's presented to you as you are contestants on a game show. And there's everything about it is great. You log into the game, you start the game. There's no logging in. You start the game and you enter your names, and a producer is talking to you with like a staticky comm voice and is asking for your names and giving you a rundown of the show. Like, and you're hearing like background singers like warming up in the background, and you're getting a producer on the line saying we've got 60 seconds. And then the show starts. You get this great host. You get amazing music. Every question has a different theme song that goes along with it. It's just beautifully presented. It's very fun.
There's been like 30 versions of this game. I didn't realize until you just mentioned it, and this makes total sense, that the version we played was literally the original You Don't Know Jack. For whatever reason, and again, this makes total sense because it was 1995 and this was a PC game. I don't know. It blows my mind to think that we experienced that, and it's been
we were the first.
Well, it's been such a thing, you know. It's literally, they've made versions all the way to today. Like you said, they've made at least 30 versions of this game.
Yeah, and I don't want to knock anybody who enjoys the other versions, but if you haven't played the original it just blows them all out of the water. I know it's partially nostalgia talking, but it's just so well presented.
I mean, yeah, thinking back on it, the intro songs are an absolute highlight. There's only 10 questions, I think, right? In You Don't Know Jack?
No, you can choose between a quick game, which is 7 questions, or a full game, which is 21 questions.
21, okay, I apologize. Either way, it's not that many when it comes down to it, and they had songs for all of those, which are hilarious. They had a bunch of different like styles of questions, kind of too, right? Like there was I don't know, there's just like different, like you're saying, it's unique compared to Trivial Pursuit, in that it brings this whole other set of rules to it, and what you have to kind of learn within those different types of questions to play it well.
Right. Yeah, most of them were just, multiple choice questions, although they all come with like a comedy angle to them. They're real trivia questions. Like they're not nonsense, but they're adding some humor to the questions. They had gibberish questions where they give you a category and then some nonsense thing that rhymes with what the clue actually is. You have to buzz in and type it out. They had, very rarely, it was like a rare event that would happen, some sort of thing where they would call up someone and have them make up a question, which I don't know if that was staged. It didn't sound like it was staged. I think they legitimately called people and had them make up questions.
And then they just recorded it and threw it on there.
Yeah. And then the final round was a kind of lightning round where they would have a category and a word would appear and start floating towards you, and other words would come, and when you get a matching pair, you're supposed to buzz in. And if you get it right, you win money, and if you get it wrong, you lose money.
See it now.
Yeah. Very fun. And they also had a screw mechanic. You had one screw per round.
Somebody else somehow, right?
Yeah, you can force them to answer it if you think they don't know. And then if they get it, though, you lose the money. And it's all played as if it is for money, which is also very funny. And then they did so much work, because then we would always keep watching after the game was over, because they would have these spoof commercials that would play that they were so funny. Like, I wonder if I went back and listened to them now, if I'd be like, this is stupid. But I remember, at least as a kid, I thought they were the height of comedy.
Somehow, I have to think it's not as good as we thought it was when we were kids. But,
Probably not.
I find it fascinating that You Don't Know Jack, as part of, like, the Jackbox games, is not that good. I love, though, that they have a better trivia game, if you want to play one, that is Trivia Murder Party. This is one that I wrote down because I didn't realize until I was thinking about this, like, how many different trivia games I've, like, played / been exposed to. But Trivia Murder Party is such a great party game where you are answering legitimate trivia questions, but it combines it with this weird, like, you're in a Saw situation house and you can die, but you have another chance at the end to overtake the person who's in the lead and be the survivor. It's just a cool twist on the whole thing. The way it's done is super great. And yeah, it's fun to play with friends and family if you got a computer set up or a TV with a computer linked to it.
Yeah. The best pitch I can give if you have not played Trivia Murder Party is the people in my life who hate Trivial Pursuit, hate other trivia games, like Trivia Murder Party. So, I mean, there's something to be said there. It's filled with mini games as well. It's like a weird combination of a trivia game plus like Mario Party or something. And like you said, the theming is also really good. It does take me back to You Don't Know Jack.
Yeah,
not because the theme is the same, but because the theme elevates what would otherwise be a pretty straightforward trivia game.
I think that's a really good point. Yeah, it puts these clothes on the game that are really fun to be a part, to wear and walk around in. Like, I don't know, it's just a cool experience. I think that's probably why people who don't really like trivia that much like it, right? Like, it's got that aesthetic, and in addition to that, even when you get questions wrong, you keep playing the game. There's opportunities to see other people, fail, and then you still have an opportunity to kind of win at the end.
I will say, in the most recent Jackbox pack I just recently played, they have a new trivia game, which I'm gonna forget the name, but it's something like Spin the Giant Wheel or something like that. And it's basically the same as Trivia Murder Party, but with a different theme. It's just that the theme doesn't work nearly as well. It's not nearly as resonant. I don't know. It's just not as good. And it's like a fantasy thing. You are climbing to a mountain to consult this oracle in the shape of a giant wheel. At the beginning of the game, you ask a meaningful question, or it can be meaningless if you want. And if you win the game, it answers, quote unquote, answers your question.
Is this
I don't know.
Wheel of Enormous Proportions?
That's the one. I would say it would probably be fun if you have not played Trivia Murder Party. But if you have, it comes across as like a crappy version of Trivia Murder Party.
Interesting.
The other game that I have written down which I can't remember if you ever partook in this. Did you ever take part in Scholastic Bowl?
I did. I was a Scholastic Bowler my freshman year of high school, and then after that I was not. I kind of regret not doing it further because it was fun, and I was not the best at it. You know, I wasn't like the top of my team by any means, top for my age group. And I think being a bratty high school age kid who didn't think it was cool in the first place, not being good at it didn't help, draw me in. So
sure.
But it was like, I'm thinking back on it, and that's like Jeopardy, like you're on a 5v5 team answering questions. I know there were some different formats in there too. There's just straight up buzz in, give and answer questions for the majority of it. But then there was, I don't know if there were like team answer sections where you had to complete a list of stuff that they asked you,
yes.
That sort of thing.
So the way it worked was you had a buzzer. Everybody on your team did. The proctor would start reading a question. You can buzz in at any time. When you do, they stop reading, and you have to give an answer. You can get it right, in which case you score points for your team. If you get it wrong, the other team has a chance to answer the question after it's read in its completed form. When you get a question right, there's then a bonus round where they ask you a question that is a list of things. Like they might, and it could be anything involving a list, like who are the first 5 presidents of the United States? Or it might be something like what are the 5 most populous countries in the world, or something like that. Or 5 different math questions. Like they just give you a list, and that one you can consult with your team, and you get points based on each correct answer, and then the other team gets a chance to pick up any ones that you missed. I found it very fun.
Did you play all 4 years?
I did.
Okay.
I did, and I was captain junior and senior year, I want to say.
Smart guy.
Well, I don't know about that, but I played a lot of trivia when I was younger, and I was really good at the math and science portions of it. I remember to this day, I think my shining moment in Scholastic Bowl was my freshman year in Scholastic Bowl. I was playing on the varsity team, and they asked a question about something about infinite series or summation. I can't remember. And I had not been exposed to this yet. I was a freshman taking, what would I have been taking then? Geometry, trig, something like that?
Yeah, geometry, I think. Definitely not trig.
But they said something about summation from X to Y, and they gave this formula, and I had not been exposed to any of this terminology. I'm on the varsity team. But I was like, I think I know what they're asking for here. And so I did it real quick as they were saying it, buzzed in, and got it correct. And it's kind of like you were saying at the beginning, like, it's like a puzzle almost. It's not just, do you know the answer, yes or no? There are oftentimes clues you can put together from the question itself. And part of the tension in Scholastic Bowl was the fact that when you buzz in, you can buzz in early to try to beat the other team, but you kind of have to predict where the question is going to buzz in and be confident that you can... Because if you get it wrong, you've robbed your team of the chance to answer the question. It was a sweet game. I think Scholastic Bowl was sweet. And I think a big part of it is you felt like you were on a game show. Like, how often do you get to have a real buzzer?
Yeah, that's Jeopardy. That was the first thing I compared it to. You want to know my only real significant Scholastic Bowl memory I have?
Yes, please.
I don't remember any of the actual competing portions. At the time, this was my freshman year of high school, and one of the smart ladies on the team, Sarah, I was dating her at the time, and so I think her mom was actually driving us back from this, whatever this was. I don't know if it was I don't think it was a normal...
What kind of story is this going to be?
So just hold on. It's nothing weird. I think it was like a weekend tournament or something we were at. I'm not 100% sure, because it was not the normal bus ride home thing. But anyway,
okay.
We were riding home in her mom's vehicle, and I remember very distinctly hearing the Tenacious D song Wonder Boy for the first time in my life. And
you were moved to tears.
Oh my gosh, it was wonderful. It was amazing. So I will forever associate Wonder Boy with Scholastic Bowl. That's my story.
That's very funny. Total tangent. I also have a first time I heard Tenacious D story, but it involves marching band on the bus leading to where I heard a tribute for the first time.
Beautiful.
And I had the same. I was like, my mind was blown. I was like, this is amazing.
So funny. Yeah, I don't remember any specifics about the match or Scholastic Bowl, but I remember that song.
Oh man.
The only other thing I've got written down here, from a trivia games perspective, is how prevalent trivia nights at like your local pub or your local bars and establishments are. I've taken part in several of those, and that is a super fun way to spend time with your friends too. It kind of feels like a game show in the same way. You've got somebody who's emceeing it, who's giving you questions. They'll give you different styles of questions, like music, like they'll actually have you listen to parts of songs with no lyrics, like all sorts of stuff. And it's a wonderful experience. It's a good excuse to go out with your friends and see what you know. It's kind of like the Trivial Pursuit stuff we were talking about before, where you can be in the background, potentially not really contribute. You can be super into it, anywhere in between. I love that it's a way to go spend time.
Let me ask you, related to that, what's your opinion on like the trivia hounds who go to those things? Like people who are like, I am like a trivia junkie. I read trivia questions. I'm on a team of other trivia people, and we just go and fleece these trivia nights.
I mean, if you're that,
do you think that's cool or not?
Not really. I think if you're that into trivia, like, I think if you're super into trivia, then you're super into trivia, and like at the end of the day, like going to be on Jeopardy is like where you should be heading towards. Doing your local pub's trivia night and winning like 3 free beers
Wings.
or whatever, to the establishment. That's cool, but you shouldn't take that too seriously, right?
Yeah, I agree. Okay, well, I want to round out today's episode with a little trivia game. We both have Trivial Pursuit, our own personal copy. And what I want to do is I want to randomly select questions from it, which we will read to each other. And do you want to do... I'm trying to think of what would be the best way to do it. If we do, like, I was thinking first to 3, but that might take a full hour.
We'll start with first to 3 and see how it goes after several questions, and then it could become sudden death if it has to.
Okay, I like it. All right. Well, this is my episode, so I think that you should be the first to get an opportunity to answer a question.
All right, bring it on.
So let me roll the die here. All right. So this is going to be history. Which feisty U.S. governor was caricatured as claiming she could see Russia from her house?
Sarah Palin.
That is correct.
Let's go!
All right. Let me give you a yellow pie. I'm getting blue because you're wearing a blue shirt.
Oh my gosh.
I'm going to give you a yellow pie
He's
piece.
got all this stuff. I don't have pies or anything like that. I should have brought the bag so I could choose.
That's okay. All right. If we're going by Trivial Pursuit rules, you get to go again. Do you want to go by that?
Sure. And I only say sure because I'm probably going to get it wrong.
You're going to win?
No, I'm probably going to get it wrong, so it'll be fair to you.
Wow, I don't know. This might be... You might just sweep, because check this out. The wild card. Which pasta is whiter? Fettuccine or linguine?
Fettuccine.
That is correct.
Oh, I know my pasta. Let's go.
See, now this is a classic example of something to bitch about. Not even multiple choice, a 2-answer multiple choice.
Yeah. Yes, that is... It is amazing when you get that question versus just a completely obscure, like, who was the third son of Walter, who is like somebody you've never fucking heard of in your life.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, we'll see if we can get one of those obscure ones. Which word derives from an island believed by ancient Romans to be the chimney of their god of fire?
Soot.
Volcano.
I should have known that.
Yep. That was a good example of the kind of question you were talking about, where it's like, the clues are there if you can piece them together.
Yep. All right, so I'm going to use a random number generator between 1 and 6 to figure out which topic to give you.
Okay, sweet.
So generator gives me 1, so I'll give you the first question on here, and it is
usually geography.
So this is, it calls it PP on here. I don't know if that's people and places or
I think
what.
so. Maybe it's about peepees.
Could be about, you know what? You tell me. What's the tallest structure in Washington, D.C. by law?
My peepee. No. It's got to be the Washington Monument.
That is correct.
Hey, let's go.
We got 1 blue pie for Kenny.
Hell yeah.
All right.
I will be green, because I'm wearing a green shirt.
Random number 6. So you're going to get a orange WC.
Wild card.
There we go. What product did Singapore agree to let residents use as long as they had a prescription in order to secure a U.S. free trade agreement?
A product they could use.
Yep. Singapore residents, as long as they had a prescription.
It's got to be something from the United States. I'm going to say Tylenol.
Chewing gum.
Interesting. Well,
Yes.
I'm not going to beat myself up about that because I never would have gotten it correct.
Very difficult question. I certainly would not have got it myself.
Great example of a Trivial Pursuit question right there.
Yeah, that one doesn't really give you any clues. It's just like, hey, figure it out.
All right, this is going to be a science question for you. Which yellow spring flower contains a toxic chemical, licorine?
Yellow spring flower.
Containing a toxic chemical, licorine.
Licorine. How do you spell licorine? L-Y.
This is a classic Trivial Pursuit clarification. Yes, it's Lycorine. I'm going to go with licorice, Bob.
You know, I like how it says spring flowers because what other fucking kinds of flowers are there? You know, like, are there winter flowers? I'm not really familiar with those.
What
Marigolds.
fall flower?
Marigolds.
Daffodil.
I knew it was one of those flowers.
All parts of the plant are poisonous, so keep pets and kids away. That's good advice for you.
That is good advice. Daffodils.
You have pets and kids.
If anyone ever gives me a daffodil, I'm going to throw it back in their face. All right, we
You
got a 3.
trying to kill me?
You got a 3. This is history.
Okay.
What Londoner ticked off her fellow designers in the year 2000 by narrating an anti-fur video? Good fucking luck.
I don't know that she is. I don't think she's from London, but it's the only name that is coming in my head, so I'm going to go with Vera Wang.
Stella McCartney.
Ooh, yes, that is a name that I don't know.
Yeah, same. That's why I said good fucking luck, because I had never heard of that person before.
All right, you're still one question away from victory here. This is arts and entertainment, notoriously one of the hardest categories, I would say. Who played George VI in The King's Speech? I actually knew this one.
Oh, gosh. It would help if I knew who the main character was playing. Colin Firth.
That is correct.
Yeah, baby. I was like, it's going to be a trick question. George VI is not the main character. I totally fucked this up.
You are the winner of our trivia game. Congratulations.
Oh my gosh. Shower me with money.
I will not be doing that. I'll leave that to our patrons who don't exist because we don't have a Patreon yet.
I'll ask for it later. Don't worry. You won't get away with this.
I'll beg for cash later. All right. Well, sweet. I think that was a good showing. I have to say, I just bought a copy of Trivial Pursuit within the last week, and I was actually pretty happy with those questions. They didn't seem too ridiculous.
I agree. I think they were definitely... Honestly, the fact that I got 3 out of 6 questions or whatever is an absurdly high percentage by myself.
That is a very high rate as far as questions in Trivial Pursuit go.
And I'm curious, party note fans, I'm curious if we just have more knowledge at this point, and the questions are more in our generations, so that's why we get more of them now, or if the questions are genuinely easier than they used to be, or some combination of the two.
I feel like a combination, because the thing is, I remember as kids, our parents getting tons of history questions, right? Because the history was more like appropriate to semi-recent events.
Sure.
Whereas
they might have lived through it, or they learned about
right.
it more in school, you know.
Right, exactly. Like, we would get questions, if we got questions about, you know, Bush and the Trump presidency and Obama and stuff, we would have a much better chance of getting them than when we were kids and they were asking us political questions.
That's a very good point.
All right, well, fantastic. What an episode. One for the books, to be sure. Thanks for listening, everybody. If you want to follow us, you can follow me at Wolfmere on Twitter. You can tweet at me with the hashtag #TheIntangibles. Matt, you want to give any recommendations on disc golf pros to watch?
Ooh, disc golf pros to watch.
Or maybe just channels or something?
Yeah, I would say go watch. So there's honestly, if you go to YouTube, there's not that many. But Jomez Pro is a good one, and then Gatekeeper Media is another good one. They all cover the big events. What I would suggest is go watch the Disc Golf Pro Tour Championship from a few weeks ago. Watch just the final round, the front and the back. Nathan Queen puts on a show. He's kind of an underdog in it, and he's a lefty, and he crushes it. He's having a great time out there. He does a great job. There's some crazy shots that these guys have to execute in order to win, and it really made me play, like made me want to play, it made me play more. And I go play at a wide open course near me, and I suck compared to what they're doing. Like, seeing how they can control these discs versus what I can do is incredible. Very motivating. It's awesome. Yes, go watch Nathan Queen in the Pro Tour Championship. It's super cool.
Excellent. All right, well, with that, I've been Kenny.
I have been Matt.
We're the Intangibles.